What's going on, everybody? It's Ryan Fontenot here with the 1 Million Cent Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Whether you are watching or whether you are listening, we are so glad you are here with us because together we are on mission to see 1 million teens around the globe trained to share the gospel by 2030. Because here's what we know: the best way to reach the next generation is to equip the next generation to reach that next generation. And so thank you for tuning in. If you're a leader, if you're a parent, or yes, even if you're a teenager, we are so glad you are here. You are in the right spot, and you are going to be stoked with my guest today. A friend, a fellow minister, a Renaissance man. This dude has skills that I don't even know about. I'm so glad to have my friend on here today, Chichi Onyekanne. Chichi, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Man, what a joy. What a joy. We were talking just a little bit ago. You just got off a little 9-day tour. You're back home now. I know you got a lot going on. So, man, thank you for making space to be in here with me and just share with the audience, man, about what God's up to. I love your hat, by the way, man. Jesus loves you too, my brother. That's what's up.
Amen. That's right. All of you.
Hey, all y'all. I love it, man. That's right. That's how we say it back in East Texas, man. All y'all. So anyway, man. Well, before we jump in and really introduce yourself and everything, I like to get a little warm up going with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for that, my friend? All right, man. Let's get it. Number one, Chichi, are you an energy drink guy? Are you a coffee guy?
Ooh, so coffee is not. No, I don't.
No,
I actually don't drink coffee at all. So I say energy drink. Let's do energy drink.
All right.
Sure.
All right, man. Okay, cool. No coffee for you, man.
No coffee at all.
Well, all right. Well, realizing that you are an energy drink guy, that begs the second question. Do you consider yourself a morning, midday, or night owl, man? When is your most productive time of the day?
Night owl. My most productive hours are from 10 p.m. to midnight is when I get all my work done, my editing, my thinking, my songwriting. And so I'm not a morning person. My wife will tell you that.
I don't know many artists that are morning people. If I'm honest, man, I don't know many of them. So
creatives work at night.
There you go, man. There you go. All right, man. Well, let's just say you and your bride, man, y'all are heading out on a trip, vacation, whatever, man. Are you hey, man, let's drive this thing. Let's enjoy the journey, the scenery. Or are you hey, let's fly, let's get to the destination and enjoy our time there? What are you going to do, man?
Man, I like to drive. Let's take the scenic route, time permitting. You can take see all the scenic things. Let me see some mountains and some stuff. Really, for her, she loves nature, loves the mountains, loves the views. And hey, if she loves it, I'll enjoy it. So
hey, that's right. That's a good husband right there. Yes.
Drive.
All right, my friend. Well, that kind of answers maybe the next question, because I was going to ask, on this journey, are you going to the beach? Are you going to the mountains? Where are you headed, bro? Are you just going to the city? What are you doing?
Ooh. Take me to the beach.
Okay.
Beach and
all
city.
Right,
I don't mind driving past mountains, but I don't know if I want a vacation to some mountains. She might, but that's where the compromise will come in and say, hey, babe, we can drive past the mountains on the way to the beach. Everybody wins. Everybody
wins. Well, you're on this drive. Y'all have found this beautiful restaurant beside the mountains in the back, man. You've enjoyed an incredible dinner, but it's time for dessert. Is Chichi reaching for pie, or is he going for cake, man? What are you reaching for?
Cake, hands down. Strawberry cheesecake, to be exact, or red velvet cake, or vanilla cake, or strawberry cake all day.
Cake.
I love comparison.
No questions.
No comparison.
Do not send this guy a pie. All right.
Coming back.
I love it.
I love
it. Return to sender. That's awesome. All right. Maybe a little bit more spiritual here, man. You're breaking open the word, one of your late night sessions. You're trying to hear from the Lord before you're writing some songs or just pinning down some worship lyrics. Let me just ask you this. Do you tend to jump into the Old Testament or New Testament? Where's your typical go-to?
Man, honestly, I'll go to the Old Testament. And there's just so many great reminders of identity, reminders and promises of God that I can really just dive into, be reminded of, and be like, man, this is what God has thought about me from the beginning. And just so much comfort and inspiration that comes in some of those Old Testament stories of faithfulness and perseverance. And so, take me to the old.
I love it. I feel like a lot of songs, are storytelling, right? And so I could see, man, the Old Testament just inspiring some of that, and all the promises are yes and amen. Let's go, somebody. All right. All right, man. So now let's just talk about New Testament for a second. There's 4 gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all of them recording the life of Jesus, kind of different perspectives on this same incredible life of Jesus. I want to know, Chichi, who's your boy? Who's your go-to? Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John? Who's your guy?
I'm going with Mark.
Okay.
Here's why, man. Mark gets straight into the miracles. Mark just goes straight for it. Like, I love genealogy in Matthew, and I love John and the heart and the love of the Lord, and love all of that. But I feel like Mark was like, yo, let's get to the action. Let's get to the miracles. Let's get to it. And so I love Mark. You don't waste no time. Just jumps right in.
No, he does, man. He dropped immediately and straightway 40-something times. He's like, hey, here's what happened. And next, this what happened. So that's my boy. I agree. Mark's my guy, too. That's awesome, man. All right. Well, this last question before we jump into the podcast is this, man. And I don't want you to answer. We're going to save it for the end. And I'm curious. I'm super curious. Okay. Is my boy Chichi, is he a dog guy or a cat guy? Don't answer it right now, man. Hold on to it. So dog guy or a cat guy. Look at that smile, everybody. Look at that smile. I want you to do this if you're watching or listening and you have the ability to leave a comment. Why don't you drop a dog emoji if you think he's a dog guy. Drop that cat emoji if you think he's a cat guy. Let's just see what happens here. We'll come back to that at the end, man. We'll come back. Well, man, thank you again for coming on here. I know we met several years ago. We've done a lot of ministry events together. It's been a joy to know you as a friend, to watch you in ministry, to serve together as well. But could you tell somebody, everybody listening right now, tell them, man, who you are and what you're doing, man? What does your life look like?
Man, yeah. Well, I am Chichi Onyekanne. It is my real name. Shout out to my Nigerian parents for that.
Let's go.
I'm in Fort Worth, Texas over here. Me and my wife live right by TCU. And I mean, moment of silence for them, for that game. Still the team. We're riding with them. Okay. It was a tough one for us.
Okay. But how do they do their deal? Is it like some
Horned Frogs?
There it is.
Yeah, that's it.
There it is.
But yeah, in short, man, we are next gen pastors. I'm a worship leader and as well as a media producer. And so I say it's like a third of those things. So a third of the time I'm traveling, getting to lead worship, all over the nation, getting to come alongside awesome people. Third of that, me and my wife are next gen pastors. And so we see, close to 500 or so students a week at different middle schools and high schools and college even. And then me and my wife also run a media and marketing thing where we are producing videos, running social media for churches and nonprofits and public figure-esque people and recording things and filming things and editing things. And so we stay pretty busy, but we love it. We love it.
When I tell you he's a Renaissance man, I wasn't kidding, man. He's got skills to pay the bills. And so,
that's it.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it when God gives men and women with these talents and I see them being leveraged for the kingdom, man. And you do that well. And I love watching and experiencing stuff you've put out. Just some incredible work there. I say this to people. If you've never worshiped in the room with Chichi, you're missing out. His voice, his gifts, man, just second to none. So, man, thank you for you. He and his team, man, they were part of our digital youth camp we did back during COVID, and just slayed it, man. Just slayed it. So, thank you, man, for what you're doing. And oh man, well, tell us this, man. I know. That you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. I like that we put in these thirds, right? So as somebody's listening to this, maybe it's a teenager, maybe it's a youth leader. They're going, man, I feel like I have these skills and abilities too. Tell us this. How did you get to where you are today? Like when did you meet Jesus? And then what were some of these milestone moments that really have you sitting in the seat you're sitting in today?
Yeah, man. So I met and received received salvation when I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school.
Come on.
Long story short, man, I actually went to Walmart at 2 a.m. to get vanilla wafers. I love vanilla wafers. Went to Walmart at 2 a.m. And I kid you not, true story. I'm walking out from checkout. It's 2 a.m. I got my vanilla wafers. And there's this guy that's standing at the door, and I kid you not, looks at me, kind of stops me. Oh man, I'm about 6'2" and a half.
Yeah.
This guy was probably 5 foot or so. And he says, "Hey
Yeah.
man, I feel like the Lord sent me here to talk to you." And I'm weirded out. Like, what?
And like, I just want some vanilla wafers.
Right. And he proceeds to kind of just love on me, man. He starts talking about the Lord, and he's saying things that resonate with my heart and my story. And I'm crying in Walmart at 2 a.m. with this guy with my vanilla wafers in hand. And he asked me, he's just like, man, he took me to Matthew 18:13. And he said, man, God is pursuing you. You can be the one that he's leaving the 99 for. And I was just wrecked. And then that next day, I got invited to an event. I went for the free food, left as a new believer. And
let's go.
It was crazy. That youth pastors, ministers, I know they're not, the food's not the issue or the point or the goal, but it gets them there, man. It gets them there. Come on, man.
That's right.
And so, that kind of catapulted that journey. And as far as like where I am now, getting to be in the rooms that I get to be in, getting to serve in the capacity that I do, I would say that the foundation of all of that was serving. If I ever was confused or I ever wanted to walk into a greater role, if the prayer was ever like, God, I feel like I'm ready to be elevated in whatever the case may be, every single time I just felt the Lord prompted me to, okay, then get more serious about serving. If you want to get more serious about leading, then get more serious about serving. Serve something else.
That smells a lot like Jesus, bro.
Vision. Yeah, exactly. Serve someone else's vision. Be faithful. Prove yourself faithful in that. And when you can be faithful with little, then God can make us ruler over much. And so, yeah, man, I just looked for every opportunity I could to serve without any motive, without any ambition. I didn't say, oh, let me go serve, the main worship leader or pastor so that I can one day, I can get the baton handed to me. It was like, no, that is a pure heart. I want to serve. I want to learn. I want to make myself available for discipleship, for mentorship. I want to just absorb all I can from people that I already see God moving in, around, and through. And there's no substitute for proximity. So I got in proximity, had open hand and open heart, and said, God, what do you want me to do in this space? I'll do it, whether it's cleaning the toilets, whether it's, setting up the chairs in the youth room, passing out pizza in the cafe. And through that, I saw God see my faithfulness. And then he gave me another opportunity of serving, not even leading, but gave me additional opportunities to serve until I got to now serve in the capacity that I do. And so serving was the key. It's the key,
man. We got to just marinate on that a little bit, man. If you are listening right now, or you're watching this, I encourage you to get something to write some stuff down with, because that right there is gold. And I think sometimes, especially in our microwave society, man, we want it now. We want the stage, we want the mic, we want the lights, whatever it may be. And what I hear you say is exactly what Jesus said, right? Hey, you want to be great? Serve. You want to be the first, be the last. It's this upside down kingdom, and that's just the way God works. And people often think, you talked about scrubbing toilets or setting up chairs or passing out pizza. Like that's not just saying it. Like I think we've all done that, right? We've all been there where we're like, no, this is what I'm doing right now. Why? Because I love Jesus. I want to serve people, and I want to be faithful where I am. And that's what I tell young people all the time. I'm like, listen, if you want to be, because I'm sure you have this, young people that are listening, even they'll ask you, hey, how do I get to do what you're doing? Right.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, hey, be faithful where you are. And you said one of my favorite scriptures there, man. He who is faithful with little will be entrusted with much.
That's right.
Man.
That's right.
So much goodness right there. Well, having said that, I know that you guys minister to the next generation and are really passionate about that. So let me ask you this: Why? Why are you so passionate? Why do you think it's so important for us
Mm.
to go after this next generation?
Yeah, I just think Jesus gave us the best model. And so in my
Mm,
mind and in my heart, as I'm thinking about, man, what does revival look like? I know there's revival things happening across the
yeah.
world and across the nation right now,
Mm-hmm.
and people are just being so inspired by it. And there's just been a common theme in history all the way back dating to Jesus, that man, when
Yeah.
revival sparked, when people wanted to change the world, they picked young people to go first. I think there's a reason
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
the word tells us to have faith like a child, because we
Come
don't,
on.
as childlike faith, if you ask a 5 year old, a 6 year old, a 7 year old what they want to be when they grow up, you'd be surprised at the answers. There's no limitation on the mind of a
Yeah.
natural means that, where as adults we're thinking, well, man, that might cost this much. You're gonna have to do this level of training, this amount of schooling. You have to have this. You got to know the right people. They're just like, no, there's
Yeah.
something in my
Yeah.
heart, and I want to go get it. I want to receive it.
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
think ministering to the next generation, prioritizing the next generation is so important. Simply put, because Jesus did. And I think now, if
Mm,
Jesus were to come back in the flesh today, right now, and say, you
yeah.
know what, I'm going to spend the next 3 years changing the globe again, who would he pick if we know his track
Let's
record?
go.
Would he go
Come on.
into churches and say, man, I need to recruit the best pastors with the biggest followings and the
Yeah.
biggest things? All
Yeah.
that is amazing. And that influence is so great and so needed and so
Hmm.
necessary. But Jesus came and he said, you know what? I'm going to pick 12 guys that probably wouldn't get picked to lead anything, essentially, outside of their roles and
Yeah.
their jobs. And I'm going to use these young, stubborn, hard headed guys that just don't get it and everybody else's perspectives and opinions. And we're
Mm,
going to change the world. And so I'm thinking, man, how do I reflect Jesus's heart, Jesus's methods, and Jesus's way of bringing the kingdom in earth and bringing heaven into earth? And I'm just like, oh, it was the next generation that played such a
yeah.
vital role in that. And so, how much more so can we take the torch and be honored and privileged to impart and pour so much into this next generation and support them as they are changing the world and sparking revival and bringing the kingdom to earth?
Man, I think you just hit the nail on the head, man. And we realize, hey, that over 70% of people that ever come to Jesus do so by their 18th birthday. We're like,
Mm.
man, if we don't get them, I always say this, if we don't get them by the time they turn the tassel or they receive the diploma, the likelihood that we ever will drastically reduces. And so,
Yeah.
man, I love next gen. I love that's what our ministry is bent toward. By the way, if you're watching or listening, go check out rageministries.com. All our information's on there. How we can partner with you, how we can help you, how can we equip you to reach those that will never reach, but God's put you in their realm of influence to do that. When we'd love to partner with you on that. And man, so I think you're right on that Jesus, the best we can tell, and I've read a lot of commentaries on this, but best we can tell, like most of the disciples were teenagers when
Yeah.
Jesus picked them out, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, I even think about what Paul wrote to Timothy, right? He says, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set the example, right? Set the example
Yep.
for the believers. Like he said, set the example for the believers.
For the
Like you're
believers.
young, but set the example for these believers that are older than you, that may be wiser than you, but set that
Yeah.
example. And he gives it. And so, yeah, man, God has a heart for the next generation,
Yeah.
and the revivals even
100%.
going on right now around the country, or man, they're happening around young people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
historically we've seen that. So say you've got this young person, and man, they want to share their faith with others. They're loving Jesus, man. They're
Hmm.
following Jesus, and they're like, but I've got this realm of influence around me, man, that they don't know. Like
Yeah.
they don't know the Lord, and I want them to know the Lord. I want to introduce them to the God of my faith. And they would come to you and go, Chichi, but man, how do I do that? What's a good first step, or one or two steps you might share with a collegiate or a teenager who comes to you with that question? How can I introduce those in my world to the God of my faith?
Yeah, so a couple things come to mind. One, simply put, is influence, where you're influential. And so
Mm.
there's spaces that we have, whether you lead something big or something small. But it's like,
Yeah.
man, if I want to change the world, I have to change my world first. And so I have
Yeah.
to take that bird's eye view of, man, I want to change the world. I want to do this massive thing for God, and zoom in
Yeah.
on the space, like you said a second ago, where you're at, starting where you are. And I can tell
Yeah.
myself, man, I want to influence where I'm influential. And so what is it in my life right now? Maybe I just have influence over 10 guys in my class, or 20 guys in my locker room, or my online gaming friends that, I'm playing
Yeah. That's right.
Fortnite or something with. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my sphere of influence. And so I remember one thing when I really started pursuing this as a 18, 19, 20-year old, I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down and I said, where are the areas that I have influence right now? And I remember it was about two
Mm-hmm.
areas and probably spanned about 30 or so people. So I said, all right,
Okay.
great. All right, Lord, I started praying, show me how to influence where I'm influential. What does it look like to reach these 30 people? Because if those 30 people reach 30 people in their sphere of influence, then revival actually starts. And so I think that a lot of young people are so passionate and so ambitious, and they're ready and willing to take on the world and take on these big tasks. And we need that kind of confidence and we need that kind of
Yeah.
faith. But oftentimes we forget to just kind of zoom in from that bird's eye view and say, God, where am I already heard? Where am I already
Mm.
seen? Where am I already known, that I can then start there and be intentional
Yeah.
about influencing those people and following up with those people and walking in life with those people. And so, yeah, influence where you're influential,
It's
and
good,
God will
man.
use it.
That's so good. I love that. Our book's about to release. I just finished writing, and in one of the chapters, I talk about your circles of influence, and I have
Mm,
actually a map in there, and it's a chart, and I'm like, hey, write down specific people. It sounds like what you did
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago. Hey, who is in my circle of influence that I can begin to influence, that I can begin to point to Jesus? And sometimes if we don't stop and do that, we just miss, right? We're
hmm,
thinking, oh, well, one day somewhere else I'll be influential for Jesus. But what he wants is for you to be influential right where you are, right where you are. So,
that's
man,
right.
I love that, man. That's
That's
so
right.
good. I wrote it down, influence where you are influential. So I'm telling you, you want to take notes. Every time I'm on podcast, Chichi, I'm a super note nerd.
I
So
love it. I
I
love
just
it.
I just write notes down, man. I'm like, this is good. This is then now they're everywhere right now. I gotta put them in my phone after this. But man, I love what you said there, man, and it's just so good. So hey, wherever you are, God has put people in your life, not one day, but today
That's right.
that need Jesus. So think about that, student, parents, adults. Like it's man, being light's not just a one someday thing. It's a 2 day thing. So now here that begs the next question. Why do you think a lot of teens today, next gen, why do you think some of them are seemingly more cautious or even hesitant to share their faith with other people? Do you see any patterns of fear or patterns of worry that are keeping them from being influential where they are?
Absolutely. I think one of the age old things, especially more so now with the advancement of technology and social media and things, is there is just this internal thing in so many people that is just so worrisome about how they'll be perceived or how they'll
Mm,
be seen. Because at the root of a lot of people, we all want affirmation and validation
yeah,
and who we
yeah,
are and what we're doing. And so that
yeah,
unfortunately sometimes kind of transitions into that seeking approval and wanting
yeah,
to be seen in a positive light. And man, I think of Galatians 1:10 where it talks about pleasing man. And if I were to be pleasing man, how could I then be pleasing to God? And
come
so
on,
there's a space in that where you can pendulum swing and intentionally
sure,
do things to upset people because you want to say,
right,
no, I'm just pleasing God. And not that
that's
you
right,
go to that extreme of a level, but to earnestly
correct,
say, man, if God is calling me to this space, I'm going to boldly proclaim that thing. And I'm going to
yeah,
be okay with risking my reputation for the sake of
yeah,
building the kingdom. And so, and
mm,
then questioning if my reputation isn't building the kingdom, then I need to start to shift that somehow anyway. And so, yeah, I
Yes.
think a lot of young people often think about, man, what will people think? I give it the analogy of the high school prom. If you've been to a prom, you've been to a dance, the dance floor is empty, and everybody is looking around saying, who is going to be the first person to go get on
Yeah.
that dance floor and just
Right.
start going? And then you
Yeah.
notice as one person goes, and a couple more people are comfortable, then a couple people are like, hey, maybe this isn't so bad, or hey, this is actually fun,
Yeah.
this is fruitful, this is amazing. And in the same way, I think young people and adults, man, just get into
Yeah.
a mindset of like, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't really see that being done. I don't really know how people will think or feel about it. And God's just like, yo, young people, the dance floor is open. Go out there, start
Let's
doing your
go.
shuffle, start doing your little jig. And before you know it, you'll look around and you'll see people that have been influenced and inspired by what you're doing. And they'll start coming alongside you in that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, be
Yeah, that's good,
courageous in
man.
that.
I love it. Take that first step, man. I love
Yeah.
that so good. I do think you're right, man. People are more worried about reputation than kingdom, and we need to make sure we have that flip that we're worried about kingdom than reputation. Doesn't mean
Mm.
we go out and we're jerks for Jesus. That's not what we're calling it to. That's not what Jesus calls us to, because we're to give an answer for the reason for the hope that we have in us, but do it with gentleness and respect, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's not about being jerks. I always say this: boldness is not even about tone. It's not about volume. Boldness is just about this humble confidence in
Exactly.
who we are and who Jesus is. So man, that's so good. Take that first step. Be the one who hits the dance floor first.
Hit the dance
Chichi.
floor.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, as you were saying that, I was thinking about, as at the time of this recording, the Asbury revival, or whatever you want to call it, is happening right now, and now we're seeing this happening on other college campuses, right? And
Yeah.
so what
Yeah.
we're seeing, and some people say, well, they're just copycatting. No. What they're seeing is they're saying, hey, this is okay to do. It's okay to pursue the Lord. It's
That's right.
right to pursue the Lord. It's good to pursue the Lord. Let's do this. Let's make this space and go after the Lord. And I think the same thing's true in our witness, man. Some
Mm-hmm.
people will become bold. I became more bold in sharing my faith when I got around people who were bold and unashamed in sharing their faith. That's what
That's
I
right.
found in my life. And so be that person for somebody today. Well, let's just maybe wrap up with this, man. I love sharing stories. I think short stories, they inspire, they stir people up. And I wonder
Mm-hmm.
if in your life and ministry, if you have a story of a student, a teen who, what we like to say is they got it. They're like, you saw it, man. The light clicked. They started living. They caught fire for Jesus, however you want to word that. Can you share a story like that with us from your life?
Absolutely, man. The first one that comes to mind, guy used to be his youth pastor years
Mm,
ago. Guy named Terry, and he caught it. I mean, came from a family nobody was saved. He was the first person
mm,
saved in his family, a
wow.
senior in high school at the time. And I remember taking him, dragging him unwillingly almost to a youth camp, saying, "Man, if this kid gets it, so much fruit will come from that in his family
Yeah.
and his school." Took him to this youth camp, got wrecked by Jesus, encountered the
Mm,
Lord, received salvation. And man, that fall when school started back up about a month later, I remember him calling me and being like, man, I want to take over my school for Jesus. How do I do that? How can I influence it? How do I start a club? How do I do something? And it's like, yeah, man, let's do it. I'm encouraging him, giving him ways to do it through the means
yeah.
of the school and different,
Hmm.
boundaries and all the things. And man, he was a singer, musician. He started taking his guitar to school, and during lunch and
Wow.
during passing periods, he would just
Yeah,
sing through the hallways. And
bro.
man, I went to go bring him lunch one time, and there was 150, 200, 300 students singing and worshiping, not even knowing what was going on. And
Wow.
it just
Wow.
kind of caught like wildfire, and it went on
Yeah.
for months. Teachers were impacted, the churches locally started to grow because of it, and it was all
Yes.
because he just decided to take a step. And then real quick,
Mm.
one more recently,
Come on.
so me and my wife go to some middle schools and high schools every week. And
Okay.
one thing that happened in my life when I was a high schooler, and when I just got saved, didn't know how to spread the gospel, didn't know much about the Bible, but I was just passionate about the Lord.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I spread the love of Christ? How do I spread the gospel? How do I? reveal Jesus to people in my school. And so I started praying at lunch, and I invited the whole lunchroom to pray with me. And by the end of the year, the entire lunchroom wouldn't eat until I prayed for them.
Wow.
And for the food. And it just was a massive thing. It was cool. And so now I'm telling these students that, and I challenge them. I say, yo, do the lunch challenge. And so they started doing it at the beginning of this year. And now they have hundreds of students at lunch that they all circle up, pray before their lunch. And then it turned into them now asking people for prayer requests. So they're praying for each other, praying for each other's families during lunch. It doesn't have to take an hour. It's a 2-minute ordeal. They get together and say, hey, who needs prayer? And I went one time, and one of the girls had 100 students in there, and she said, hey, God, it's your girl. Bless this food, bless these students. We love you. Everybody yells out, amen. I'm like, yo, that's all it takes.
I love
that level of willingness. We don't have to be theologians or scholars to start to spark that revival that we all want to see and pray for so much anyway. And so, it's been amazing.
I love that, man. Take the lunchroom challenge. If you're listening to today, hey, take the lunch challenge. I don't care if you're an adult or you're a student, man. Take the lunch challenge and just ask someone, hey, can I pray for you? Hey, I can tell you one of the biggest witnesses is, man, when you're at a business lunch with some coworkers and you go, hey, can we just pause and just give thanks for this food? Like some people may be like, I'm not partaking, but I'm telling you, man, it's eye-opening for people. They go, oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. And when they hear you conversate with your Lord and Savior, whoo, man, they're like, whoa, that
Amazing.
that lady's got something different than I do.
And
it may not hit now, but there's going to be a moment in their life when they're going to need someone who has faith. And they're going to come find you. And so take the lunch challenge. I love it, man.
Take the challenge, man.
Hashtag take the lunch challenge. Let's go, man.
Take the lunch, hashtag lunch challenge. Let's
go. Let's get it, man. I love it. I love it, man. Well, Chichi, man, before we jump off here, I just got to ask the question, man. People want to know. They've been curious, man. We're coming back to it. They want to know, is our boy Chichi Onyekanne, is he a dog guy or a cat guy? What you got, my brother?
I would have to say I'm a cat guy. This is why. Not uncommon.
Stop the press.
Uncommon. Get him out of here.
No, this is awesome. Uncommon. I think you may be our first. You may be my first cat guy, man. I want to hear. Let me know.
Let me know. 100% a dog guy. Me, I'm a cat guy. Why? Because cats take care of themselves. You can leave a cat for 4 or 5 days. Tell him where the food is, and he's good. You'll come home, you'll see the cat cooking on the stove, doing the dishes. Cats take care of themselves. They don't need no help.
I love
like
it.
That.
Low maintenance. Low
maintenance. Cat,
that's
just
right.
Do your thing.
That's
cat
right.
had his feet up watching Netflix. I'm good. Cat, live your life.
Yeah. You leave a dog for 4 days in the house, it is going to be straight wrecked. So
2 days, yeah.
That's right. Oh, I love it, man. What a perspective, Chichi. I knew you were ready to bring, and I guarantee you, every one of you that guessed, you missed it because I did not see that coming either, man. Thank you for sharing that, bro. Dude, thanks for sharing today. It was so great to catch up with you, man, to see that smile, to hear what God's up to in your life, man. I'm just so thankful for you, my brother. And listen, whether you are watching or whether you're listening, if something during this just stirred you up and you thought, man, I need to tell someone about this, hit that share button, send it out, make sure you like, subscribe, whatever it is you need to do. And they tell me this, that when you leave a good rating, it really does help. So drop a rating for us. And I'm so thankful you spent time with us because, listen, the reaching the next generation, it's not a me thing. It is a we thing. We are in this thing together. And don't wait for next month, next year, next phase of your life to tell someone about Jesus. I always like to close with this. Today is a great day to tell someone about Jesus. So let's go.